Welcome to Sports Connection. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. I'm here with Mr. Tate Mathews. Tate, last week was really nothing to talk about in terms of that week, except for like grocery shopping and some of that kind of stuff. But this week, lots of makeup games. We had some makeups in wrestling and got that duels in. Now we're ready for the dual state tournament.
It's exciting. We had no results last week. We have tons of results this week. A lot to look forward to. The state wrestling tournament's right around the corner. Won't go very deep into this, but I did get a lot of feedback on grocery store games and grocery store brands.
You did?
And overwhelmingly, not so Lucky Charms was a no-no, unacceptable. There was a lot of agreement
But
that yes, you can.
They had to appreciate the name though. The not so lucky.
They said that. They said, "Do you all?" The one comment was, "Do you all script this, or is this stuff really just off the cuff?" And I was like, "Well, that was definitely not scripted." But I did get some feedback back. You know, woven wheats, wheat squares, things like that are acceptable. Basically, messing with cereal. It's a cardinal sin.
Now, the feedback I received was that your children are a little odd on the ketchup mustard thing.
Really?
Most people are like, I could care less about that.
Yeah. Well, I agree with it. It's not me. It's my family. But man, I mean, it's like they'll just go without.
So, something I did not mention. I'm sorry to start off on this.
It's pretty fun.
But listen, when I was teaching marketing, I had a guy in my class. We were talking about off brands. This is true. We didn't think about this last week. Who told me, he said, Coach, Dollar General store milk, like, literally makes me sick. I was like, oh, it does? I said, I don't believe that. And he said, yeah, it does. I said, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to bring some donuts in, and we're going to do a blind taste test. Whatever milk you want. I forget which one we even brought, Kroger. I think I brought 2 or 3 of them. And Dollar General was one. And he agreed to do the blind taste test with the whole class, did the whole class. He picked as his favorite the Dollar General store milk.
You got to be kidding me. Did he get sick later?
I don't know if he got late. At the time, he said it was the best one. I used to do it, listen, with Coke, Pepsi, and RC. Blind taste test. Everybody in class said I prefer Coke or Pepsi. All of them. RC always did well.
Really?
And I mixed up the order. Sometimes we'd taste Coke first, sometimes Pepsi. I'm telling you, it's
keep them on their toes.
A lot of it's mental.
I believe that. Especially with the milk. I don't know how you could. I mean, maybe skim to whole, but brands?
Brands.
I don't know that I'm buying that. But
I think at the time, I didn't even know Dollar General store had milk.
I didn't either.
But anyway, all right, let's get into wrestling. And we need to give a little shout out here, Tate. We were at the region duels, and our man Ian McCarthy, who watches the show. Ian, we appreciate you.
Yeah, Ian said he checks it. He watches it every week on podcast. He clicks the link above every week.
Oh, that's nice.
Checks it out. Ian, one of the big nasties, and we mean that with all respect. One of the big nasty offensive linemen at Summit. He was there working the wrestling match for the crew, and man, if you haven't been to a region championship in Williamson County, you're missing out, man. They put on it's a performance and it's an event. It was great, man. Very exciting, and especially when they're tight like they were, you can feel the electricity. You can cut it with a knife in the gym, can't you? It was good.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, we're going to do this kind of early, but I think it's relevant. We're going to start off with our gym for the week. Summit, they won their 4th straight region duels, and Fairview won their 8th straight.
So I think you can't compare the two because of different situations. Fairview's program literally came from nothing, but winning 8th is 8 in a row is unbelievable what they've done. We know that. State championship that they've got Coach Darrin and the Yellow Jackets have. But winning 4 straight region duels in the top classification.
That's big.
In this region that's really, really tough to do. So congratulations.
And Coach Miller mentioned to me, said, because I know Coach is watching, he said, you were smart picking us to win the region.
Yes, you were.
It's like the Summit people love to give you a hard time if you miss something.
No, it doesn't bother me. I'm glad.
But aren't they number one in giving you a hard time, though?
Well, they were kind of like that with Dr. Qualls. Because I remember this because I'd predate you being the executive producer of the show. But I just know how it works, right? Nobody was on the John Carter train more than Dr. Q. I mean, it was almost uncomfortable. No, I'm kidding. But he was the biggest Summit Spartan basketball fan there was, right? Well, John goes on to college and Navy, and a youngster by the name of Grayson Murphy started playing just down the road in another gym off 1776 Declaration Way. Well, guess who became the biggest Independence basketball fan? Dr. Qualls. I mean, the Summit people were on him, man. Turncoat, Trader, Indy Homer. All you care about is you're a Greg Glass lover. It was unbelievable. So I take it as respect, but I love to be proven wrong. You know, Nolensville was wrestling pretty dang good there. But before you can claim yourself the man, you got to beat the man. And Summit said, not so fast. So congratulations.
If I'm not,
and we were there. Oh, sorry, we were there, and you were wise to pick them because they were clearly the best team.
they're good.
That wasn't they were just the best team on the night. They're the best team.
So let's talk about those results. So in the semis, Summit was the 1 seed from their side, Brentwood the 1 seed from the other district. Summit beats Ravenwood 52-27. Brentwood, Nolensville, man, that was a wire job. 33-30, Brentwood wins, and then in the championship, Summit 45-27. So it was really tight. I like the spotlight. We love that.
It's unbelievable.
How they got that going. Wrestling in WCS, it's fun. Hey, the latest poll.
But they've done a great job with it. We had some great coaches in the past. Well, we were talking. I think he'd be okay with this. The legend, and I do mean legend. We were sitting there and I said, you see that older gentleman over there with the white beard and white hair? Yeah, that's GP West. Legend, right? I don't know that GP West would have ever put an LED light hanging from the gymnasium rafters, shining down on the mat, right? I don't know that he would have ever done that. And he is a legend in the sport. What these younger coaches have done, they're making it more entertaining. They're making it a more, it's a more family-friendly atmosphere to be a part of. And that light was a big part of it. Yes, I love it. I think it's very awesome.
The last rankings that I saw, and again, there's one ranking. It's not class, it's one ranking.
And I like it.
I like it too. Summit was 3, Nolensville was 4, Brentwood was 5. Cleveland 1, Baylor 2. So
now,
obviously strong.
Not in the excuse-making business, just in the fact-giving business. Cleveland lets out-of-zone wrestlers, students, athletes come into their zone for a very minimal fee, okay? Provide your own transportation. Nothing wrong with them. They're playing by the rules that were set, but they're playing by a different set of rules than Summit, Brentwood, and Nolensville are. They just are. Baylor is a boarding private school. They have kids coming in from not only now the continental United States, from North America to now across the world, okay? So being number 3, those are the 2 ahead of you, pretty dang strong.
So let's talk about the sectional. So going back to Fairview, Coach Derrick, and they've got a young team, by the way. This is not quite their time.
Right.
It's coming again, though. Really is. They beat Montgomery Central in the region final. Then they lose to Munford at home, 39-32 in the sectional. So great year in the duels there for Coach Derrick and his squad. Obviously, they'll be around for that individual tournament as well. Summit hosts Cookeville, 63-9. Summit over Cookeville.
That is wrestling version, Boat Race City, Popcorn City, all smacked down, all rolled into one.
Green Hills, I know it's Hill, but I'm going Green Hills.
Be careful, man. They'll call you out on Twitter.
They will. My buddy Coach Allen's the coach there. We know Coach Allen. I'm like, do y'all have school down there at that mall?
Well, you know, he went to Lipscomb. He's got to feel right at home.
And he coached at Hillsboro.
All his old stomping grounds are right around there.
Coached at Hillsboro. I like those renovations y'all did at Green Hills.
It's very nice.
Brentwood, 64-10 on the road over Green Hill. So that leads us to the bracket.
And let me tell you something. I know you know this because you're really good at math. 63, 64. What does that tell you? Not only was that a tail kicking, that was a lot of what?
Pins.
Pins.
6 at a time. 6 points at a time.
That was.
Now let's go to the bracket.
Okay.
We got to do some discussing here. So, and I didn't know this myself. So the dual wrestling championship, which is going to happen Saturday at the Ag Center in Williamson County, great place to do it. Watch all those matches at once. The bracket comes out. And I'm used to the blind draw thing, right? And I notice
because you're a basketball coach.
That's right. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the typical is if you have someone from your region, you can't be in the same part of the bracket. So, number one, I see that.
And you like that, right?
Yes.
I do too. Okay.
I see that Cleveland and Summit are matched up. I'm like, man, that's terrible luck for both of them. Not just Summit, for both of them. Because whoever wins that match is going to win it.
I agree.
But they got to go right off the bat. But then I look and go, Brentwood's in the same bracket against Arlington. Now, Brentwood's going to roll Arlington, by the way. And then the other side, Dobbins, Bennett, Bradley Central, Bartlett, Knox Hall. So I'm looking at that. I talked to Coach Blair, former Brentwood coach who's now in part of TSSAA. Had a discussion with Coach Miller at Summit, Coach Smith at Brentwood. Here's basically what happened. So let me read this to you. This is part of the bylaws. Teams which qualify for the state duels as regional and sectional champions. So that would be like Summit.
Correct.
Region and sectional. Who placed in the top 4 in the previous year shall be seeded according to their previous year's finish. Now, the wrestling coaches, according to my information, through Wrestling TACA, they've got their own representative. They wanted that. Now, first of all, I don't know how you base anything on the previous year. So because of that, Cleveland, Knoxville Halls, and Dobbins Bennett all get seated. From there, here's what's bad. Now, there's 3 different sets of teams, Region 4, Cleveland, Bradley, Region 6, Summit and Brentwood, Region 8, Bartlett and Arlington. So because of those 3 already being seeded, it was just going to work out that 2 of those teams were going to be in the same bracket. So one of the 3 regions, they were going to be in the same bracket. So after they did the blind draw, it just happened to be us.
Correct.
Pretty bad luck on the draw. Now, here's what I'd also say. Knoxville Halls, keep in mind.
There's an asterisk.
They won the A tournament last year. AAA, right? Class A. Now they're up to AA. This makes no sense. And I'm not really blaming TSSAA. If the coaches, whoever represents the coaches, brought that up. Here's what I think happens, Tate. And I'm not blaming our coaches. I don't know what coaches were involved. Sometimes you make decisions based on the way you feel about it right now and this year, and you don't think about what it could be. Well, be careful what you wish for.
That's right.
And now we got messed up because I'm not crying. Listen, you want to win, you got to beat the team. Like you said, Cleveland, they're the man. We're going to beat them. Let's just do it.
Yep.
But when you hear that they're seeding and the number 3 team in the state doesn't get advantage of seeding,
correct.
You're like, y'all, if y'all going to go with seeding, that's y'all's business.
Well,
based on last year?
Tournament sports, right? You're a basketball coach by trade. Basketball is the ultimate tournament sport, I think. Tournament sports, what is the regular season for? Other than, to play games and, the reason why we compete in athletics is to have athletic contests and form games and things like this. But why is the regular season so important? Why is it so important to win? Outside of, if we're going to play, we want to win, we want to be
It determines who you play in the postseason.
So you can get the best seeding that you can get. So what was the point in finishing number 3? I agree with you. I don't think it's very. If
you're doing something with seeding, do it on this year.
That's right. It is based on this year. Michigan doesn't get a better seeding next year because they won the national championship. Now, they'll start off higher in the polls to begin the season, but they don't get any preferential treatment come the playoff picks who get in. It's based on what happens in the 2024 football season. So, and again, not only, but what you said is right, but I'd go one step further. Now, these coaches, of course, they're not going to say that to their teams, right? We're going to get out there, and they haven't faced anybody. Not only have you already decided the state championship in round one, Brentwood's going to win Arlington, so that means Brentwood's either going to wrestle Summit or Cleveland do they get them in the
semis?
No, they get them in the
at the bottom. They would eventually match up again.
If so Summit let's say Summit beats Cleveland. All right, so Cleveland goes down to LM1. And then that's right. And so then Brentwood hits Arlington. All right, so Brentwood's going to win. They're going to meet in the. You already decided the third place team.
That's right. So
first and third are decided.
So if Cleveland, people think Cleveland, I'm telling you, I think it's our time. And what Coach Miller told me, that coin flip. They flip a coin to start the match, and that determines who gets to pick. And
you got to show your hand.
That's right.
Show your hand first.
So he says we win that coin flip. We got a shot. I think they got a shot anyway.
Yeah.
It'll either be Brentwood, Cleveland for third, or Summit, Cleveland for third. Because you see, you're looking at loser of match 5.
Right.
So LM5, so you'd be down here. So they'd go on the bottom of that bracket. So
but whoever the two losers of match 1 and 2 eventually will meet.
That's
in
right.
The third place,
That's right.
Third, fourth match.
That's right.
So first is decided and third is decided, and we haven't even fired the buses up.
And let's go ahead and say this: the third place match will be a better match than the championship match.
Agreed.
Because 2 of the 3 best teams are in it.
Agreed.
It's a bummer. Again, I'm okay with the blind draw part. That's just part of it. But if you're gonna seed it, the last year thing makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
And again, people like to point to TSSAA. They didn't just think that up. It was the TACA group, the Tennessee Association of Coaches, the wrestling division. Sounded like a good idea until it happened.
Right. Be careful what you wish for. The other thing, and I know...
But we're going to win it. We're not crying. There's no crying on the yacht, Tate.
No crying on the
yacht. We're winning it.
It was. Look at Nolensville.
We're winning it.
We don't want to hear it. They were 3 points away. You talk about a reversal here, a takedown here, an out of bounds here. It was a 3-point match. We were there. That Nolensville Brentwood won it. But there were a couple of things. Had they gone, I'm talking about a game of inches. Had a couple of things gone differently in the Nolensville Brentwood match, I don't think Nolensville beats Summit. But we would be talking about Nolensville's runner-up. They very easily could be top 4 in this tournament. But it's the way it is.
How about
the other thing I don't know? The thing I don't like, and maybe I'm misreading this though, so the TACA division of the wrestling coaches voted on what they wanted in the state championship. When did they start letting them decide those kind of things?
Well, it's kind of like those people, kind of like the BCAT, or in football, the whatever that's called.
TNFCA?
A lot of times they listen to them because they're supposed to be their representatives.
I think I'd be talking to my representative.
Again, most people don't think about all this. And the Halls thing moving up is what messed it up.
Yeah. They probably didn't think they were going to make it.
That's right.
But when you start talking over there, now when I say
and they won it last year in A.
Right. But and that's awesome. Good for them. But that's a big, big difference. And when I say East Tennessee, I'm not talking about Chattanooga East. I'm talking about, over there at the Graham Clark dump or whatever we're talking about.
It is what it is. Yeah. If you want to win it, you got to beat them anyway, but certainly kind of weird how it all happened. All right, let's talk about this, Tate.
We're going to pick it out, or are we doing that at the end?
No, let's do it right now.
We're on wrestling.
So I'm going to go Cleveland Summit. I'm going Summit.
Okay. Cleveland.
Brentwood Arlington. I'm going Brentwood.
Brentwood.
Let's just do the bottom just for kicks. Dobbins, Bennett, Bradley Central. I'm Bradley Central because I don't know the difference.
Bradley Central's fallen off the map, but I don't buy it. Dobbins Bennett's been beaten up on Chucky Doak Cock County, and I'm going with Bradley Central. I don't buy it. Fool's gold.
Bartlett, Knoxville Halls. I'm going to go with Bartlett.
I'm going Knoxville Halls.
Okay. So semis, I've got Summit, Brentwood. You have Cleveland, Brentwood. I'm going Summit.
I'm going Cleveland.
I'm going Bradley Central. That's just what I'm doing. And we dominate those teams, by the way.
So what they've done is they'll tell you. It
You
just
going Bradley
happens.
Central?
I'm going Bradley. This is the worst Bradley Central team in maybe 10 years. Maybe 20.
And you're going Cleveland, and I'm going Summit.
Cleveland wins.
And what they'll tell you is what? Is that what you were going to say?
This is the worst Bradley Central team in a decade, maybe more. But the way we've seeded this thing, which it could have happened anyways, but I wish it had been totally blind draw, but whatever.
All right, we ready?
I got Summit in third place, though. You got Brentwood in third or Cleveland?
Cleveland.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, let's talk some hoops.
Hoops.
A lot has happened. There was 3 games last week, so we're not going to hit them all. I'm just going to hit some highlights. Let's talk standings real quick. Girls side, we'll go from bottom up. Centennial 0-7. 7th place, you got Franklin 1-6. Indy in 5th at 2-5. Then we've got a tie for 4th, Ravenwood Summit, both 3-4. Brentwood and Owensville, both at 6-1. And Page, you've been talking about Page, 7-0. So why did that happen? Well, Nolensville gets upset, if you want to call it that, by Summit. Great win for Summit last week, 41-38 on the girls' side. That helps with tiebreaker too. Coach Merle and I talked about this last week on the coaches show, that if you get that upset, so to speak, if there's any kind of ties, so if Ravenwood Summit end up tied somewhere, and let's say they split head-to-head, Summit will get the tiebreaker because they're going to beat a higher-ranked opponent. So anyway, I thought that was big.
It was big. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Nolensville and Page are tied atop of the district standings, both unbeaten, and now there's one, Page, and they still haven't even played each other.
Well, here's one that's tricky going into this week. And I think I ended up saying they played last week, and they didn't. Here's the thing about Page, though. They're undefeated. They still have to play Nolensville twice, Brentwood twice. So Page's 7-0 is not quite.
No. But the cool thing is they literally control their own destiny.
Literally.
Literally.
So that's kind of a deal. Hey, another game I wanted to mention, because I think this one was going to be big for seedings too. Franklin's really close. Franklin's pretty good. And they're sitting at 1-6.
They were up on Brentwood after the first quarter.
I mean, they're pretty good.
Down by 4 at half, right?
Yeah.
And still in it going into the fourth quarter. You're right. They're sneaky. And they got a couple of matchup problems.
They do, with Cecily Brandamore, the post player, sophomore, and of course the point guard's been there for 15 straight years.
Well, and the problem she does is Brentwood said it, that they wanted to make sure she did not beat them.
Amy Elliott.
And she still went 10 for 10, 10 points and 10 rebounds. And then I think it was Amy ended up with 17 points. So even when she's not putting in 20, she's such a matchup problem. If you can get those other ones hitting some shots, I think they're the one to watch out for come tournament time. I wouldn't like seeing them.
Ella Ryan, 31.
31.
So she had a good game. I want to mention this game, too, because it was such a good game. Ravenwood 52, Franklin 51. Natalie Prestigard, that's a young lady we've heard a lot about the last 4 years. She had 23 points, 19 in the second half, 12 in the fourth quarter. Have yourself a game, Natalie.
There you go. Kind of used to it, though.
Used to it.
They needed all of them.
I did want to give a little shout out, too, to Fairview. They defeated Montgomery Central 65-18. And they did lose to Sycamore, but they're 1-1 in league play. So we can talk about their poor record on the boys and girls side, but now we're in district play. They're both going to do pretty well. Now, let's talk about the boys side, Tate. Lots of stuff happened with the boys. If you take a look at this, this is the bottom of the league. So it's actually 5 through 8. They're all 2-5. Brentwood, Nolensville, Page, Summit. Number 4, Ravenwood and Indy. They're tied at 3rd right now, both 4-3. Centennial 5-2. Franklin 7-0. Now, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings out there, get anybody excited. I think the top 4 is going to be that 4 when it's all said and done. And there's a 2-game difference between 4 and 5. I think it'll end up being Franklin, Centennial, Indy, Ravenwood. I don't know the order. I'm just saying I believe that'll end up being the top 4. You buying or selling on that?
Selling.
Oh.
I think Brentwood's top 4.
Who's going to get moved out?
Do you want me to pick that now?
No, you don't have to, but you better think about it. They're going to move out Ravenwood or Indy or Centennial. It's probably not going to be Franklin. They're 7-0.
Correct.
Now.
Oh, wait. Hold on a second. I might have said that wrong. No, they're not going to move them out. What I'm talking about is when we get to the tournament.
Oh, when the tournament gets to the 4.
And there's 4 left, Brentwood's one of those 4.
Okay.
That's what I meant. I'm
okay.
sorry. Yeah. They're not going to make that much ground up. Correct. I'm sorry.
Okay. So you're saying they're going to win that 4-5 game.
If you're saying when all the dust settles, who are the 4 best teams? Brentwood's in that 4.
And I'm not ready to make my tournament prediction, but I can see that happening. It's going to be a great tournament. Let's look at some boys' results. Okay. Franklin beats Ravenwood, 51-49 at Ravenwood. Christian Brown, 15 points. Davis Long, 12. Xander Johnson, 10, who's playing great, by the way, and playing really good defense. Summit gets a big win over Nowensville. Listen, I know they're 2-5, but the job that Coach Burgess is doing at Summit, there's some excitement. His team's playing well. That's another team you really don't want to mess with.
No.
Brentwood, this is the one that people were like, what? And this is why you're saying it. At Indy, 62-43, Brentwood win. And then Indy also drops one on a last-second shot by Tanner Lee for Centennial, 46-43. What are your thoughts about some of those games, Tate?
I think here's what some things that jump out. It's all about matchups, right? And that's what's scary. I think
no doubt.
I think two games show you just how big of a deal matchups are. Franklin and Ravenwood. Ravenwood, although they lost, same result. Franklin wins. They're undefeated, but they played them, I think, closer really than anybody has. I don't think people would have guessed that, right? For whatever reason, I wasn't there. Maybe you were. Ravenwood holding them down to 51 points, losing by 2. And then the other one, Centennial and Independence. The last time they played, they won in triple overtime. Independence did. And both teams were in the 80s, I believe.
That's right.
This one, Centennial comes back and gets them 46-43. Don't know what Coach Moore did, but something game planning wise, they dictated the pace of play better this time around, and they got the win. Those are big. So, and then the Brentwood thing, yes, the Independence one, but they had a win last week, a big win against somebody last week, and then right before they dropped the
Summit.
tough one, they had a nice Summit win. Then they dropped a tough one to Franklin. Degman back. He's back in playing shape. They weren't quite right. It was kind of the Daniel Cochran show and just piecing it together since Degman's gotten back and he's gotten back in the flow of things. I just think Brentwood's a different team. And, I mean, you battled those guys for 20 years in your previous life. They're going to defend. They're going to get in your shorts, as you all like to say. And I just think they're a lot better than people thought they were because they were sitting there at 0-4.
Tough out in the tournament for sure.
For sure.
Hey, you mentioned
if everybody stays healthy.
You mentioned that Franklin-Brentwood game.
Oh, and by the way, congratulations, Daniel Cochran committed to the University of Chicago. That's a big deal.
It is.
They don't take 17 on the ACT guys at the University of Chicago.
They don't. Coach Tiger.
Yep.
Congratulations to Coach. He gets win number 300, and I know that he liked getting it against Brentwood.
Yes.
That to me, that's the traditional
It is.
rival in the county. It just is.
It's the oldest. Northside High School used to all feed Franklin, and then in 1982 they started splitting. It's just a heck of a rival. I mean, let's be honest. When you came down here from Beach and you became Franklin, I know you like to win them all, but there was something special about beating Brentwood, and that happened in year one, right? So that's the cool thing about rivalries. Congratulations, Coach Tiger, 300 wins. That's awesome. As a guy who's done it, do coaches enjoy that the way they should when they win 300, or is it something that can't be? That's not easy, right?
No, but I think you're so worried. I know for me personally, I didn't even know what happened.
So probably something he'll enjoy after the season. Or
maybe, but
when he's done.
It's probably Coach Anderson. He was with me at Beach. I don't know how it happened. I know the game ended and they said, "Can we have your attention?" I thought, it was one of those I needed to jump under the chair. Something was going on, and it was, they mentioned. But it was cool. So it's cool to do it with your team. It's always about the players and that you've had and the coaches that help you out. But it is, listen, longevity is something.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for longevity at a particular school or in general. It's hard to stay around
Right.
Now coaching. So
Well, I always look at it this way. Yes, you're going to have to coach, have a pretty long head coaching career to get to 300. But, what's the most usually you're going to play in a year? It's 30 games? You'd have to go 30-0, 10 years.
yeah,
So that's tough, man. That's consistency, and that's good. And I think it's pretty awesome. There's a good chance that come next week, we'll be talking about another Williamson County head coach with 300 wins. So
we will be.
pretty neat.
It is neat. Hey, I did want to mention this because the folks here at WCTV do such a great job. Page and Summit, as soon as you go, well, Summit's getting ready to make another jump and Page is in trouble. Well, Page gets a win. WCTV Game of the Week, boys and girls win at Summit. It was a great game, and in that game, as always, we have our WCTV Play of the Week.
So Kukulu setting up for the last play of the first quarter. Passes up the 3. They're going to count that. Calvin Katorba hits a 3 at the buzzer to tie it back up.
Andrew Kukulia with the dribble, penetrate, kicked it to the corner or kicked it outside to our man Calvin Katarba, football player Calvin Katarba, for the 3 to end the first quarter. Those 3 points were big.
They were.
Won by 3.
In overtime.
Overtime.
So no matter when that's why I always say end of a game, oh, that guy messed it. Well, all of it matters.
That's right.
Did you miss a free throw in the first quarter? Did you hit a jumper in the first quarter? So it all adds up. Obviously, that was a big one there. Hey, I do want to mention, too, Fairview, a couple wins. One over Montgomery Central, 49-28. One over Sycamore, 68-52. They're 2-0 in league play. Mays McCoy, Nathan Dillingham, the double-headed monster from Fairview. They both have 23 points and 6 rebounds in that win over Sycamore. So congratulations to Fairview. This week, Tate, look at some of those games.
Franklin at Independence, the WC game of the week. The Independence Eagles on the boys' side, they're licking their wounds, man. They're wounded. What happens when you get an animal back in the corner that's wounded and you think they're ready for the kill, right? That's when they're the most dangerous. So Franklin at Independence, those are going to be great games, especially that boys game. Brentwood at Nolensville. Nolensville, remember, got the sweep the last time they played.
They did. That's right.
So both the Lady Bruins and the Bruins are going to try to right both of those games. Then Brentwood will be at Page and Summit at Ravenwood. So we've got a lot of big games this week.
Brentwood Page girls game.
We forgot to mention Ava Jarrett's been back now.
Yes.
She's been double figures a couple of games. She got 14 in that last win. That's a nice other scoring option and somebody who can, as you know, dribble down the court, break down the defense really quick. Brentwood's a little bit different than the last time they played.
So
in Nolensville, that is.
Coach Kaufman, I'm not sure, maybe you know, Coach Kaufman watches the show.
He does.
So, Coach, I have said title goes through Brentwood. I've said it the whole time. You mentioned to me, Page is a not so fast. Obviously, Coach Ladd in Nolensville said that too. I think when it's all said and done, it goes through Brentwood. And with Jarrett being back?
Well, Page is 7-0, so they can control that seeding and the tournament. Where is the tournament? Do we know yet?
Ravenwood.
Yeah, Ravenwood, yep.
And then the region is at Centennial.
Hey, man, we just talked about how hard it is to win 300. Has Coughlin won 600 or 700?
He's won a bunch.
You don't win 600 games by you know, not doing a little scouting and knowing what you're doing. This isn't Frank C. Hughes or whatever. I saw the boys tweeting about that the other day in the what was it? The guy that used to do the PA at Crutchfield at Laverne, and he got in trouble because he'd be doing the PA system at a Laverne game, you know, and he'd go scores of little interest around the leader, whatever. Nobody cares what's going on down there. I'm talking 700 real wins, man.
Right. Tate, as always, good to see you. Can't wait to talk about this next week.
Well, I hope you're right. I hope next week we're talking about a Class AA state championship being brought home either by the Summit Spartans or the Brentwood Bruins. That'd be pretty fun.
It's time.
It's time. Plus, it's on our home turf. The other cool thing, hey, get out there and check it out. If you go left, however you're going, if you go the other way across the interstate now, Berry Farms, man, they've added an Edley's. There's tons of things to do. It's not like a few years ago when it was just kind of out there in the middle and you couldn't do anything. Get out there. There's a lot to do. You can go get great meals with your family. Get out there and support these young wrestlers.
You don't have to pack a lunch anymore.
You don't have to pack a lunch anymore.
Tate, see you next week.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining us for Sports Connection. We'll see you next time.